We have with us the President of CII, Mr. R Dinesh. Mr. Dinesh, welcome to PTI. Thank you so much for talking to us. Let me begin by asking you about India's economic growth. While it has been promising, there have been concerns expressed about unemployment and also the wide income disparities that persist. As the President of CII, what do you think needs to be done to address this issue?
So first and foremost, if you look at, I think obviously like you said, Indian economic growth is maybe the highest in terms of most of the large countries where there has been the growth. Most, I would call it optimism is coming in terms of the fact that we are looking at 25 with maybe more than 7.5% rate of growth, which is equally good. The fact is that as India grows, you will actually see every sector of India also growing, and you will have to necessarily provide or opportunities for growth for everyone. That's, I think, CII's view is inclusive growth is very important. So if I overlay these two, I think we are speaking about opportunities which can be created in certain sectors, like for example, tourism, healthcare, hospitality, logistics, which are all high employment generators. And one of the industry's recommendations has been to look at an employment linked incentive plan, which will further support the growth of job creation in this. The second point we should not forget is the aspirations of India have also changed. So if you look at it today, for somebody who was ready to get employed, say when he was 18, today would much rather prefer to finish qualification and then go in for employment. So if I look at that profile, I think you will actually see that the people who are getting employed, beyond 25 years of age is far better than what you would look at from a younger age perspective. So it's both a question of matching these aspirations and the kind of jobs which you are able to provide. And the last element I will mention is from CII side, we are talking about making sure that we provide the right training and support, especially for the new age technologies, whether it be artificial intelligence or whether it be usage of data in a formal manner, which then provide more opportunities for people to be employed. And the last comment I will also make is standardization. And as we build our standards, I think you are also not just creating job opportunities in India, but allow the flow of talent from India to overseas opportunities, because now many countries actually have a talent shortage.
So the RBI is still not ready to cut interest rates. Do you think it's time to go easy on interest rates, or do you believe that inflation is still a concern?
So I think RBI has been very correctly and nicely managing the balance between inflation and the growth requirements of the country. I can only comment the way we, as industry body, we did a survey, we do a survey regularly, and the last survey which we had, the expectations is by Q2 of FY25, you will actually see a reduction in interest rates happening. But having said that, that is, I would call it our survey expectations. But I genuinely believe that this balance has been achieved by RBI far in a very nice manner compared with many of the other developed economies, which by the time they could react had major issues happening in the economic growth side. So we have managed growth and interest costs well.
So Prime Minister Modi has set an ambitious goal of India becoming VixitBhat by 2047. Could you elaborate on the strategies needed to achieve this ambitious objective?
So if you look at, obviously what has happened is that the focus on the infrastructure side has gone very well. So whether it be the physical infrastructure, the digital public infrastructure, and the usage of the digital public infrastructure to the benefit of the many, and the social infrastructure, whether it be education and health, have all been strong focus, and this actually have laid the base, or a very strong base for the future. From CII side, when we look at accelerating the rate of growth or making sure we are able to seize the opportunities which are being presented today, I think broadly we are speaking about 3-4 areas. First and foremost is what we would call as the big ticket reforms. So there, that is land, labor, and to a certain extent in agriculture. But it is important that we are able to build the consensus across all the states. So to make that happen, one of our suggestions is like the GST federal structure solution which has been worked out, to have a structure which can enable make the states and the center to work together on developing this big ticket reforms, because this is got to happen, but will happen as quickly as we can by building this consensus. The second point is how do we support MSMEs? On MSMEs, there are 3 points. The ECGLS scheme, which had been introduced in the past, is a very good scheme. How do you formalize and institutionalize it and actually build a rating mechanism for them so that they can get into the formal sector, both from fintech side and as well as the bank side. Second is they need to have the green transition support. So you create a fund for their green transition. The third is how do we provide them support to they make the digital transition. So all of these will actually help the MSMEs come back into this. The third point is the focus on the education and the healthcare sector. We are saying that about more than 6% spend, gradually increasing it to a 6% spend in terms of education of the budget, and also 3% in the case of healthcare. Finally, both from increasing employability and the diversity, I think the focus on women employment that has had significant increase in the past, but how do we continue that by providing the right skilling and support for them to come in and work.
The process to elect the new government has already begun. What sort of an impact will the outcome on June 4th have for India, both domestically as well as globally?
So, I mean, we genuinely believe that as industry, that continuity is, I would call it, essential, and we believe there is consensus on many of those activities in terms of making sure we follow through for the economic growth of India. So, for us, I think as an industry body, we look at growth being sustained and made higher and it being inclusive, both of which many of the points which I mentioned earlier are the ones which will help us get there and make it happen.
So the Indian stock market has seen very good northward movement. Do you see retail investors preferring the stock market more and more over traditional instruments like fixed deposits, real estates and gold?
So if you step back and look at it, in fact, we had the SEBI chairperson in one of our meetings recently, and she rightly pointed out that it is based on the fundamentals of the growth story and how people look at the future growth of the country, which also reflects in the stock market and stock prices. So as I mentioned, if India is going to grow at about 7.5% rate of growth and going forward to 8% and maybe higher as many of the benefits of these reforms start kicking in, stock market will also reflect that. For us as an industry body, we have always said productive use of savings is good and that benefits people. So net, whether it be the stock market or any productive use of funds, I think is for the benefit of industry, benefit of the economy, benefit of the uplifting everybody who needs to have growth happen in their lives or as businesses.
Do you believe that India is building desired infrastructure at the pace required to become a manufacturing hub, especially considering the fact that private investment is not picking up as it should have, with the finance minister also exhorting the industry to invest more? What do you think about this?
See, if you look at the focus on infrastructure, as I said, it has been phenomenal, and the sheer size of it is now very, very high. So you are not going to have the same rate of growth on that size. So you will have a lesser percentage of growth on that size, but the absolute amount is obviously continuing to increase. We definitely believe that that should continue, and I don't think there is any, we are not seeing any disagreements on that in terms of the infrastructure focus. So that's fine. But if you look at from private capex spend, I think it's important for us to understand that of all the capex, the total capex, the percentage of private capex continues to be the same. So 21, 22, 23, 24, etc. If you look at it, we are in between 36 to 37%. So it is happening. It is not that it is not happening at all. The rate of growth of that capex may not be the same as being in the rate of growth of the government spending. And maybe two elements I will leave you with. As I said, we do this survey, and in that survey, actually, if you look at the capacity utilization, sectors like cement, steel, automobile sector are all speaking about 90% in excess capacity utilization. Cutting across all sectors, everybody is speaking about 75% and above. So I believe that already there is, I would say industry is pregnant. It's a question of when that delivery will take place.
In light of the recent RBI restrictions on Paytm, what are CII's views on its impact, potential impact on India's digital payments ecosystem and its fintech sector?
No, I think RBI has been very clear that they are not talking about any regulations in terms of fintech sector. I think fintech is having their own, I would call it, opportunities to grow and seize the growth curve and provide solutions for the best deployment to the B2C side of it. But the banks, I think RBI has been very balanced in terms of making sure that they balance the risk while at the same time make sure that new ideas have been introduced. In fact, I would say this has been a period of significant ease of facilitation for reaching out to both retail and from a banking sector being able to access for industries to access, etc. And today, if you look at the strength of the banks and their ability to lend, I don't think that should be a challenge for us right now.
The PLI scheme has been in place for some time and it has yielded results. Which other sectors do you believe have the potential for PLI to be introduced and to attract investments?
So, like I mentioned to you, I think PLI is already well established. So, as new age, already you saw that being announced from an EV manufacturing, etc. So, all of it is part of it's work in progress. So, I don't want to name one specific sector today, because as things evolve, we will have many more sectors with which we will speak about. But what I mentioned to you earlier, we believe the PLI can be extended into a ELI, and that is what I think will benefit growth faster, especially for some of the service sectors which actually provide good job opportunities.
India aims at becoming a global player. What more can be done to attract more foreign investment? What are your views, sir?
So, I think if you, as CII President, I have been going around many countries throughout this year, and I can tell you that the strength of interest in India is changed dramatically, right? So, it is now no more a question of whether I should invest in India. It's more a question of when I invest in India and which place to invest in India, etc. That's the kind of discussions taking place. I think people are coming in here first for the domestic demand, and as they come in and invest, they actually find India competitive, and therefore the India then becomes a hub to be able to export or grow out of it. Secondly, also India has in a way become, I would call it, strategically important for people to look at from their global supply chains and value chains. So, I think it is not something we will need to do dramatically different. And the third element I will add is, I think the competitive federalism has resulted in each of the states from India actually making a strong pitch for investments to come into both from the manufacturing side as well as from overseas investors. So, I think obviously we will continue to work in make efforts happen in terms of what other avenues can be addressed to support that. But I think it's more a question of doing more of what we have been doing and making sure the communication and the delivery of that is done better.
MSMEs are the backbone of India's economy. What policies and initiatives are needed for low-cost credit to MSMEs, because that has been a concern?
So, this is what I actually mentioned to you by talking about the ECGLS scheme which the government had introduced. Our belief is that that can actually make formalizing it and institutionalizing it and creating a rating agency which supports the requirements of MSMEs can make a big difference for that, because MSME requirements are slightly different from larger corporates requirements, and sectors within MSMEs are also different. If I look at, say, retail sector to manufacturing MSME, the rating itself has to maybe applied slightly differently, and that's what we believe will help them get access to funding. But I think there are currently various mechanisms already available to make them into one, I would call it a nice hold-all situation, is what our recommendation is for.
Skilling gap in India remains a challenge. What are your suggestions to improve skill development and also improve the employability potential of our workforce?
So, CII has been very much focused in terms of supporting the skill development agenda, and we have actually many centers of excellence which work with the industry and the members of our institutions to support upskilling in itself. And as I mentioned, the new age technologies which are coming in and the use of digital data, if I can use that, terminology is something which is necessary to be upskilled for even existing employees. So that's something which both as an industry body and working with the various arms of the government, whether it be NSDC or other activities of the government, we are wanting to make sure that that happens on a regular basis, and it is very essential to support India's growth.
Section 43B of the Income Tax Act offers tax deductions for payments made to MSMEs, timely payments within the stipulated time frame. But there have also been concerns about its unintended consequences. What do you have to say about this?
As an industry body, we believe timely payments, irrespective whether it's MSME or otherwise, is something which every company will practice, and especially so in the case of MSMEs, because obviously their funding requirements are being met. So our advice to our members has been to make sure that timely payments are made. So I don't think, we are not questioning the intent. It's a question of making sure the practice belies the intent.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Mr. Dinesh. Pleasure speaking to you. Look forward to more interactions.